Let's get started with our second panel. This will be the opinions of the case people on standards development and usage and application to education. And our first speaker will be James Anderson, Professor of Pathology.
And a few others.
And a few others.
Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to come and talk with you about my interests in standards on our campus. And my interest actually goes back to the 1980s when I became involved with biomaterials and medical devices. And at that time, the only standards organization was ASTM that did anything with medical devices. And so I joined. And I've been a member for over 25 years, I believe, in ASTM. I'm in the F4 committee, which deals with medical devices. That's because my interest lies in implantable biomaterials and medical devices, not those that are used outside of the body, but do support the health and welfare of people. These are the documents that I use on campus and in my work. The first is ISO 10993, which is the biological evaluation of medical devices, in particular Part 1, evaluation and testing within a risk management process. The second you'll see is ASTM standard, and being a member of ASTM, I am a member of the F4 committee that deals with medical devices, and every year through my membership, which costs less than $100, I get one of the best textbooks that I could possibly have on this topic, and that's volume 13, which deals with medical and surgical materials and devices. And so for me, ASTM not only has been most helpful, but it's been an absolute bargain. And then finally, the third type of document that we commonly deal with is the Food and Drug Administration CDRH, General and Specific Medical Device Guidance documents. The FDA does not have standards. They may suggest that you utilize standards, but they don't necessarily accept standards per se, although they will accept the fact that you have carried out certain types of research and gotten certain types of results utilizing a standard. The only document that I know, at least in the Division of Radiologic for Devices and Radiological Health, is the ISO 10993 Part 1, which I started to write in 1990, and in 1994 we got it accepted by the FDA, and it is present in their so-called Federal Registry Blue Book Memorandum. Well, I want to give you a taste of how we utilize that in our biomaterials work. And this is the central page here for ISO. In 1990, it became apparent that there were too many so-called biocompatibility standards. And if you ever saw the French one, which is in 3 dimensions, you'd run running out the door. It was almost virtually impossible to understand or appreciate. But the 3 major groups, Canada, Great Britain, and the United States, got together because they had a tripartite agreement, and they, along with others, decided let's do an international standard. And of course, it started out with the overview document, or the umbrella document, which is actually Part 1, which speaks to those standards that have to be followed in testing for biocompatibility, or, as we say, blood evaluation of medical devices. Now, that's the end-use medical device. But in our work, we use it initially to qualify materials to ensure that we've met at least the minimum of biocompatibility before we even start to work with that material and convert it into a medical device. And this is where standards can play a very important role in helping you decide what materials you want to start with in creating your medical device. For example, if a plastic causes blood clotting, you certainly don't want to start with that, because ultimately you might find out when you test the end-use product that the material is failing, it's creating a blood clot, and all your time and effort has been wasted. So it can be used early on in the R&D process, but it usually holds for the so-called testing of the end-use product, which would ultimately go into the patient. Now, ISO 10993 has a flow chart that helps you develop your approach with simple yes/no questions, leading up to is further testing necessary? Then there's the selection of test, and then the completion of the testing, and you've then summarized your systematic approach to a biological evaluation of a medical device. There are some tests which are required, but you may rationalize through the literature and your own research why you don't have to carry out that test. But the regulatory bodies, such as the Food and Drug Administration or others in Europe, will make a decision on whether your rationale is appropriate or not. ISO 10993 is broken down here, not by device, but in several ways. First of all, by body contact, which you can see on the upper left-hand corner. And so we have three categories: surface device, external communicating device, or implant device. What it contacts when it goes into the body, and what is it? The second division then is the contact duration. Is it less than 24 hours? Is it between 24 hours and 30 days, or is it a permanent implant greater than 30 days? And there you see then the biological effect that is actually measured. And the X's then indicate what tests are required for evaluation. My interests lie in terms of implantation, which you can see over on the far right, and those are virtually for long-term implants, and hemocompatibility, which is the last column on the right, which is the blood material types of interactions. And so we've used ASTM tests and also ISO tests to look at new evolving materials. These tests will become very important as we get further into the application of nanotechnology in medicine, as well as tissue engineering. And I would say, as a parting comment, many of these new technologies do not have standards. And those people that are working on these new technologies will ultimately be a participant in the development of these standards. Many times the FDA will request justification for certain types of testing which they are unfamiliar with, especially in those two areas, nanotechnology and tissue engineering. But one has an opportunity to guide the standards process through their own research and development. But you have to be a player. You have to get out of the laboratory. You have to participate in helping to push these standards forward. And right now, I'm in my third revision of ISO 10993 Part 1. And I think I'm the only academic on the committee. The rest are either government people working for the Food and Drug Administration or industry people, of course, who have a vested interest in standards development. Thank you very much.